Chapter 1260. Now, in order to help your brother, you're going to take out a loan. 500,000. I don't know when we'll be able to pay it off. Jinghua, my brother's family is in trouble now. He even sponsored my college education back then. I can't just stand by and watch. I don't want to be an ungrateful person. It's the same reason again. Tang lied. He sponsored you for a year, and you earned the rest. We met in college, so I know your situation better than anyone else. All these years, our family has been helping them. I've never objected to helping them because I'll also help my family. But I don't agree to take out a loan with the house. Song Jinghua was very stubborn about taking out a loan with the house. Even if she lost all her family's savings, she wouldn't have any objections. The house was the only thing she couldn't touch. She didn't want to live the life of drifting around the city without a fixed residence. Tang lied. We're almost 50 years old. In another 2 years, we'll be old and won't have the ability to work hard. No matter what, we can't take out a loan with this house. If there's an accident and we lose this house, where will we live? Tang lied sighed. Jinghua, it's just a loan. It's only 500,000. It's not much. We won't lose the house. Let's help brother's family get through this difficult time first. When they have more money, they can return it to us. I remember that their family has 2 houses. Why don't they take out a loan with their own houses? Song Jinghua suddenly reacted. Tang lied. Go and talk to brother and sister-in-law. They can definitely take out a loan with their own houses. When Tang lied heard Song Jinghua's words, he thought for a moment. Then I'll discuss it with brother and see if they can use their houses as collateral. Song Jinghua breathed a sigh of relief, but there was still a sense of depression in her heart. Let's have noodles with vegetables tonight, Song Jinghua said, and turned to go into the kitchen. Tang Wu walked to the sofa and sat down. Her gaze fell on Tang Lida. Dad, if Uncle's family was unwilling to use the house as a mortgage, would you still use our house to get a loan? Xiaogua, your uncle is my biological brother, someone who once helped me. Now that so many things have happened to their family, how can I just stand by and watch? But Dad, this is the only house we have left, right? Tang lied was at a loss for words. Dad, if you think about it, our family is the poorest now. Moreover, the economy has declined this year, and the company's performance has not been good. Our company's employees' salaries have been reduced. Not only have they been reduced, but they have also been laid off. If the house is mortgaged and something really happens, where should our family go? Our money is only a temporary loan. We are all relatives and should trust each other. They have all signed an IOU and will pay it back. Tang lied argued. Tanghua continued, then, Dad, can you tell me when they can return it? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Or 20 or 30 years? Tang lied was at a loss for words. He clearly knew that it was very difficult to get back the money that was lent. But they were all relatives. Shouldn't they help each other? He really couldn't just stand by and watch. Dad, I have to say something here. Your parents have never worried about me like this before. Chapter 1261. Tang lied was stunned, then said, You were raised by us. We have already raised you, fed you, and clothed you. Now that you are an adult and can be responsible for yourself, what else do you need us to do? Uncle, aunt, cousin are all adults. Grandma and uncle are also adults. Why can't they be responsible for their own lives? If they lack something, they should fight for it. If they encounter difficulties, why can't they solve it themselves? Why do they have to come to you every time? Dad, you are indebted to Uncle. Ever since you went out to work, when did you not help Uncle's family? You were the one who helped Uncle and Aunt with their jobs in the city. You were the one who helped with cousin's transfer. They complained that the school selection fee was expensive, and this money was also paid by our family. Whatever their family lacked or encountered difficulties, you were the one who helped them solve them. Dad, it's been decades. It's enough to repay Uncle's kindness to you, right? If it weren't for you, their family would still be in the countryside. Look at them now. They have already developed a habit of asking you for everything. You were the one who paid for the medical expenses for cousin's accident last time, right? You and Mom were the ones who bought the tonics and stewed the soup, right? You even helped me take out the feces and urine. Dad, sometimes I even suspect that my cousin is your biological son. Nonsense, how could Jiming be my biological son? But this child is obedient and filial. He even helped you before. Why can't I treat him better? Your mother and I are both dutiful people who value family. How could we give birth to such a cold daughter like you? Tanglide said with some regret. Tangwa was not angry about this. For the first time, she did not bring herself into this role. If she had brought herself into this role and immersed herself too deeply into it, who knew what she would have done? Perhaps she would not have endured until now and would have taught those people a lesson. However, her biggest goal was to teach these two people a lesson. She could only temporarily not deal with those thick-skinned people. This time, she was a bystander to solve this problem. If they still did not repent in the future, she would only ensure that they had food and clothing. She would not think about anything else. They had given birth to her and raised her, so they didn't give her any extra feelings. Therefore, she only had the obligation to support them, so she didn't need to give them any extra feelings. If they repented, she would take back what they had lost. Once this was done, she would be able to do her own thing. This was the goal she set for herself every time. Forget it, Dad. Let's not talk about this. Tangwa did not think that a few words could make Tangli to repent. Dad, I still say the same thing. The house must not be mortgaged. Tangli just sat on the sofa and didn't say anything. He was very unhappy with his daughter's words. He was still wondering how he had given birth to such a selfish, cold, and heartless daughter. At the dinner table, the whole family ate noodles mixed with vegetables. Tanglide and Song Jinghua felt that the food was tasteless. They couldn't stand eating these for a long time. Tanghua only took a small amount of food, and she was already full. With the excuse of losing weight, the two of them did not notice anything. Therefore, Tanghua quickly finished the few noodles and vegetables in the bowl. She took out her phone and said to the two people at the dining table, "Mom, I'll transfer this month's living expenses to you." The two of them raised their heads abruptly, their eyes filled with joy. Chapter 1262. After Tanghua started working, she would transfer $2,000 to her family every month. Tanghua transferred $2,000 not because she sympathized with them, but because she was planning to move out. "Dad, Mom, I'm moving out in a few days." The two of them were a little surprised. Song Jinghua asked, "Why are you moving out all of a sudden?" "The traffic jam in the morning is too bad. I want to live closer to the company. Also, I have a few colleagues who are planning to rent a house near the company. It's cheaper to split the cost. It's so good to live at home. It's not convenient to share a house, right?" Song Jinghua said, "Xiaogua, it's better to stay at home. Just wake up earlier in the morning." "Dad, Mom, I'm 22 this year. I'll be 30 in 8 years." Tanghua said to the two of them seriously, "I got into debt because I bought a car. Luckily, I paid it off later. You all said that I'm an adult. It's not good to rely on you all if I stay at home all the time." Tangua's reason was very good. "I've never asked for anything when I'm an adult. Didn't you teach me from a young age to fight for and earn whatever I have? For my future, I have to work hard to earn money to buy a house. I hope that I can earn enough to pay for it soon. If I do, I can slowly repay the money in the remaining time." The two of them were stunned when they heard this. Only then did they realize that their daughter had grown up. Their daughter had grown up and had to start a family. In today's society, the woman couldn't completely rely on the man. It was best for her to have a house of her own before marriage. Although they were spendthrifts, they didn't think that there was anything wrong with a girl buying a house before marriage. They suddenly felt a sense of suffocation in their hearts. For a moment, they didn't understand why. Or perhaps they understood, but they just didn't want to admit it. Because of their generosity, their daughter didn't even have a house to pay for. 2 months ago, they still had more than $1 million in savings. It was enough to pay for a better house. "Dad, Mom, what's wrong?" Tanghua asked despite knowing the answer. Were they upset? Of course they were upset. It wasn't that the two of them were heartless. Instead, they were too considerate. It wasn't that they didn't have a daughter like her, but they always felt that their daughter was still young. Furthermore, they valued kinship and believed that relatives needed to be protected. They often interacted with each other and would not be unfamiliar with each other. And their daughter was one of them. Many families had such a consensus. During the holidays, when they received gifts, They would keep the bad ones for themselves and give away the good ones as favors. If someone gave a poor gift, many families would return a better gift for the sake of their reputation. It was unknown when such a custom had been passed down. The good things bought at home could only be eaten by guests. Even if a child really wanted to eat it, they couldn't eat it, not even a single one. And that guest was usually not very important to the family. So, why should he let his family suffer and be so polite to a relative whom he only saw a few times a year? Why would he keep all the good stuff for the other party? If the children of their relatives took a fancy to the toys of their children, their parents would often be very generous and say that they could take it if they liked it. If their children's toys were taken away and they cried in public, they would be scolded by their parents for being insensible and might even be beaten. Tanghua did not continue to make things difficult for Tanglida. Dad, if I was still living at home and had saved enough money to pay for a house, an eldest uncle came to borrow money from you, but you had no money, would you let me lend the money to eldest uncle's family? Because his family was in debt and didn't want to mortgage their house to pay off the debt, they could only look for their biological younger brother to borrow money from. There's no hurry to buy a house. Of course, I'll lend it to your eldest uncle first. Tanglide answered without even thinking. After answering, he saw Tanghua's smiling face. Dad, do I have an obligation to lend it to him? He's your eldest uncle, my biological elder brother. Chapter 1264. But the money is mine. You have no right to decide for me. Xiaogua, you're too cold, Tanglide said. Tanghua smiled. Yes, I'm cold because I can live a better life if I'm cold and selfish. Okay, let's stop talking about this. I just want a home of my own. I don't want a single cent from you. Of course, you don't have to worry. I'll take care of your retirement in the future. Now, not only do I have to save up a sum of money, but I also have to save enough money for you to live in a nursing home. Of course, it was best to send parents like them to a nursing home. System, yes, it's best to send them to a nursing home, so that they wouldn't cause trouble for their children if they came to borrow money or ask for help. They said that Tanghua was cold and selfish. How could they not be the same? Unfortunately, they themselves were cold to their own daughters, but privately, they were very generous to others. That night, Tanghua packed her things simply. It was just some clothes and daily necessities. There were only a few pockets. The next day after work, she met Yuan Shua. I won't be going for dinner today. I'm moving. Moving? Moving out of your home? Yuan Shua was happy to hear the news. It was great that she could leave such a family. Tanghua nodded. My father is still hesitating whether to mortgage the house. I suspect that they will sell me for the sake of my uncle's family. It's better to move out. Yuan Shua didn't know how to comment and only said, I'll go over and help you. Thank you, Brother Shua. I won't refuse this time. System. I've never seen you refuse a hypocritical woman. You told him that you were moving, so you were reminding him to help you move. Tanghua, I'm giving him a chance to show off. Didn't you notice that Brother Shua is very anxious because of the lack of progress in our relationship? I'm afraid that he'll cry, so I'm giving him a chance to show off. System, dog. Such a bad woman. Yuan Shua should come and take care of her. When Tanghua returned home, Song Jinghua and Tanglide were both there. They saw Yuan Shua coming back with Tanghua. She sized up Yuan Shua. Yuan Shua was handsome, so of course he left a good impression on others. Dad, Mom, stop looking. This is a handsome guy who wants to sell me insurance. I told him that if he helps me move, I'll buy his insurance. Yuan Shua. This was a very good reason. In order to sell an insurance policy, he had to sacrifice his physical strength and work as a porter. System. Song Jinghua and Tanglide stopped staring at Yuan Shua, especially when they heard that he was selling insurance. They all felt that people who sold commercial insurance were especially good at scamming people. It was really bad to coax her into buying insurance. They originally wanted to tell Tanghua to stay away from such people who sold insurance. However, Tanghua carried her bag and walked out of the room after the things were moved downstairs. Song Jinghua hurriedly chased after her. Xiaogua, if you're not used to living outside, you should come back. Mom, I'm used to living here. My colleagues are very easy to get along with. They're all very polite people. Without other people's permission, They won't touch other people's things. Also, they're all young people. They have credit cards and won't borrow money casually. I think that in a few years, we should be able to save up a sum of money. Chapter 1265. When I have the down payment, I can buy my own house and live more comfortably. Tangwa's words made Song Jinghua feel uncomfortable. Wasn't she scolding her in a roundabout way? But her daughter was about to move out, so she couldn't say anything. Seeing that Yuan Shua had already gone down with his things, she whispered, "Is that really an insurance salesman?" "Yes, those who sell insurance nowadays are more handsome, so it's easier to do business." "Okay, as long as he's not your boyfriend, it doesn't matter who he is." "Xiaogua, if you want to find a boyfriend, don't find an insurance salesman. This kind of person only knows how to flirt, has no future, and is annoying." "Don't worry, Mom. I won't find a man who only sells insurance." The man she chose was the head of an insurance salesman, of course, not someone who sold insurance himself. Song Jinghua was completely relieved. She felt that if Tangwa went out into society, she would know how warm a home was. It won't be long before Tangwa moves back. Tang Lide was still angry, so of course, he didn't stop Tangwa. He and Song Jinghua had the same idea. They wanted Tangwa to go out and suffer, so she would know how good a home was. How could they know that their daughter was so capable? They also didn't expect that in the future, it wouldn't be her who would suffer, but them. "Xiaogua, have you found a house? If not, I have several houses under my name. 2 of them are close to your company and are cleaned regularly. The decorations are good, so I don't plan to rent them out. You can live there first." "House?" Tangwa laughed. "Brother Shua, don't worry about this. I'm prepared, so I plan to move out. There's no point in continuing to live at home." She gave him an address, which surprised Yuan Shua. If this address was right, it should be a high-end apartment in the city, right? Sure enough, they drove to that place. Seeing Tangwa walk to the apartment, Yuan Shua knew that he guessed right. It's not cheap to live here for a month, right? What he meant was, could she afford it? It's not cheap for a month. It's not worth it to rent it. Did this mean that she bought it? "You bought it?"
Yes.
Tangwa smiled. "It's my own house. It's comfortable." "Of course." Yuan Shua replied in his heart and said, "I underestimated you. This girl was really capable." He really liked this smart girl who didn't suffer losses and knew how to make money. Since she was so good at earning money, he could let her manage all the money in the future. Whether she made money or spent money, he was happy. Buying this apartment in full would cost a few million. The money that Tang will put in the stock market is definitely not enough to cover a few million in a few months. But if she paid the down payment, then it would be enough. One of the things she liked about this place was that the security was particularly good. The guards were very responsible. They were not people from the apartment. Unless the owner came out to pick them up personally or made a phone call, they would not let them in. This way, even if her place was exposed in the future, those people would not be able to barge in. When she bought this apartment, she asked the system to help her eliminate all the connections in this apartment building. It said that there was no one her troublesome relatives knew, so they didn't use connections to get in. Even if she was found, she could call the police. She believed that ordinary people wouldn't be willing to help such a troublesome person. Chapter 1266. The system couldn't help but sigh. The host was really too calculative. Maybe it was because he had been disgusted by these relatives recently. Yuan Shua was quite happy. He studied the route and found that it seemed to be more convenient to drive from his house to here. The only pity was that this place was very close to the workplace, so they had less time to spend together. "Brother Shua, thank you for helping me move. Can I treat you to a meal?" Knowing that Tangwa wasn't really poor, Yuan Shua didn't stand on ceremony. It shouldn't be a problem to eat something from his future wife now, right? When they were together in the future, everything he had would be hers. There was no need to be so polite. The 2 of them went to a private restaurant again. This time, they were very satisfied with the food. The next morning, Yuan Shua drove his car and bumped into Tangwa outside the apartment. Tangwa had just left the apartment when she saw Yuan Shua parked his car on the side. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. "Brother Shua, what a coincidence." "Yes," Yuan Shua smiled and said, Don't we pass by the company here? When I helped you move yesterday, I realized that it was closer to the company than the previous street. It's not so easy to get stuck in traffic. Since that's the case, we have to take this road. Let's go. Get in the car. It's on the way. System. Yes, it's on the way. It's been on the way for a few months. It's okay to continue on the way. The circle of adults was really strange. Brother Shuwa, have you had breakfast? I came out too late. I was afraid of traffic, so I haven't eaten yet. I'll go to the company later and order something to eat. Wasn't he afraid that he wouldn't be able to meet her? Coincidentally, I made an extra breakfast today. I was going to take it to the company to share with my colleagues. Since Brother Shua hasn't eaten, I'll give it to you. Tangwa put aside the food box in her hand and said seriously, "This is warm. Brother Shua, you can eat it when you get to the company." System. She clearly made 2 servings. Eat one for yourself and put the other in the lunchbox. This woman is so fake. Didn't she bring it specially for Yuan Shua? Haha. Yuan Shua, please accept this woman. The corners of Yuan Shua's mouth curled up and he couldn't stop smiling. Although he didn't know much about their company, he knew the boss of their company. She had unintentionally mentioned her before. She was not close to her colleagues at all, and she would never give them to her colleagues if she cooked too much. Also, she was a person who was very precise in everything she did. She would never cook too much. Especially for breakfast, as long as one knew how to cook, they would be able to accurately control the amount. Even if there were leftovers, it would not be enough for one person. Therefore, based on the above analysis, she had specially made breakfast for him. Moreover, she knew that he would definitely come. Thinking of this, Yuan Shua couldn't control his excitement. Therefore, their relationship had improved. At the very least, she had a good impression of him. After sending Tangwa to the company, Yuan Shua drove the car into the garage and carefully carried the lunchbox into the office. The employees of the company were all horrified. What kind of food did their CEO take that he had to protect it so carefully? Secretary Chun, quickly send the documents in and see what CEO Yuan is eating. We are really curious. Not to mention the others, even Secretary Chun himself was very curious. Chapter 1267. He nodded and quickly found a document on the desk that was supposed to be sent to Yuan Shua. He knocked on the door as usual and gently pushed it, only to find that the door was locked. "Mr. Yuan, why did you lock the door? What is it that you have to eat with the door closed? Show them." Yuan Shua was eating happily when he heard someone knocking on the door and Secretary Chen's voice. He quickly swallowed the food in his mouth and said seriously, "What's the matter?" "A document. Mr. Yuan, do you want to read it now?" Yuan Shua glanced at the delicious breakfast in front of him. What document? Such delicious food was made for him by the girl he liked. How could he neglect it because of a document? No. He glanced at his watch and said, "Send it back at 9:30. Mr. Yuan, there's a meeting at 10 o'clock. I think it's better to read it earlier. There's still a lot of content in the document. Send it to me at 9:30. I can read 10 lines at a glance." Secretary Chin, good, that was a good reason. Their president did have a skill. He could finish reading a page of content in a few seconds. Then I'll send it in at 9:30? Okay. Yuan Shua stared at the food. For the first time, he felt that the capable Secretary Chun was extremely annoying. No one is allowed to disturb him before 9:30. Whoever disturbs him for a minute will have to work overtime for an hour. Secretary Chun was speechless. Okay, Mr. Yuan. I'll inform everyone. Secretary Chun felt a little bitter. So, what was Mr. Yuan eating that was more important than the document? What kind of delicacy was it? How is it? Seeing Secretary Chun return, everyone asked. Secretary Chun shook his head and said in a low voice, "Mr. Yuan locked the door. I don't know what delicious food he's eating with the door closed. I have to send such an important document at 9:30. Also, Mr. Yuan said that no one is allowed to disturb him before 9:30. Whoever disturbs him for a minute will have to work overtime for an hour today." Then, Secretary Chun informed the company group of this news. The entire company knew that no one was allowed to disturb Mr. Yuan today. The news that Mr. Yuan secretly closed the office door and ate something delicious inside was also discussed by the entire company. Yuan Shuo took half an hour to finish his breakfast. In the end, he looked at the empty food container and felt a little regretful. He didn't expect her to make such delicious breakfast. He was a picky person. When he praised her culinary skills, he did not have any personal feelings. He really felt that it was delicious. He was kind of looking forward to tomorrow morning. Would there be one too? He washed the food box and returned it to Tanghua when he bumped into her in the afternoon. The next morning, he couldn't stop smiling when he saw Tanghua carrying the food container again. The food inside must be prepared for him. Brother Shuo, I'm embarrassed to have to hitch a ride with you every day. How about I make breakfast for two in the future and bring you a portion? Good, good, good. Of course it was good. In the future, he wouldn't have to find an excuse for a chance encounter. He could come and pick her up openly. Then I'm taking advantage of you, Yuan Shuo said. Xiaoguo, the breakfast you made is really delicious. It was even better than the private kitchen. As long as Brother Shuo thinks it's to your liking, Tanghua said with a smile. If there's anything you want to eat in the morning, you can tell me in advance. Anything you make is delicious. I'm not picky. It was especially easy to raise. It's true. Chapter 1268. From then on, the employees of Yuan Shuo's company were very curious about what kind of delicacies Yuan Shuo was eating during the half hour he was in the office. Yuan Shuo didn't intend to share it with others. He even told them that he would have breakfast from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. As long as it wasn't a life-threatening matter, no one was allowed to disturb him. Whoever disturbed him would have to work overtime. It was good to have a boss who didn't deduct their salary, but how could they deal with the punishment of working overtime? Although Tanghua moved out of the house, she still asked the system to monitor everything about Tanglide and Songjinghua. After moving out for a week, it was still peaceful. Suddenly, one day, the system told Tanghua that Tanglide was doing something. What's going on? Host, your father is asking about loan sharks. It seems that he wants to loan your house out through this method. 1. I and 1/I, my mother probably didn't agree, so he had to find loan sharks. This was not unexpected by Tanghua. Did he find it? I've already found him. At the moment, your father is still hesitating. However, I think that it won't be long before he agrees. Since you moved out, your family group has been very lively every day. Host, you probably didn't go in to see it, right? You'd better not. You might die of anger if you see it. However, Tanghua had already opened her family group. She saw all kinds of comments scolding her for being selfish and unfilial, but she wasn't angry. Everyone was saying that she moved out because she was dissatisfied with Tanglide lending money to help Tangliping. They all said that Tanglide was such a good person. How could he have such a cold and heartless daughter? 1. I and 1/I, if she really brought it in, she would be heartbroken. Lu Chunyue and Tangliping had been looking for Tanglide every day recently. In the end, it was Tang Jiming who made Tanglide decide to borrow money. Tang Jiming's leg had been amputated, and he was now a poor disabled person. How could a good person like Tanglide bear to be so cruel? The old lady whose leg was broken by Tangliping was not a kind person. Just 2 days ago, she said that she could give him another week. If he didn't pay 500,000 yuan within a week, they would meet in court. Now that Tang Jiming had stepped in, her father had agreed. Tang Lida was also a cultured person. He knew the consequences of usury, but he couldn't not help his own brother. The loan sharks had already agreed to pay him as long as he was willing to mortgage his house. Tang Lide was afraid that he would fall into the trap and was still considering it. Host, Tang Jiming called your father again, saying that Lu Chunyue and Tang Liping are planning to jump off a building. Your father was so scared that he immediately agreed and said that he would definitely get the money before the day after tomorrow. Got it. Tanghua replied calmly, looks like he's preparing to become a loan shark. Host, do you want to intervene? I won't interfere. Help me set up my phone number so that no one will disturb me. Yes, host. It seemed that Madam Host was determined to teach Tang Lide a lesson. Through the monitoring system, Tanghua saw Tang Lide, who was preparing to go home after work, walking out of the office building hesitantly. In the end, He gritted his teeth and took out his phone. His hands were still trembling. I'm planning to take out a loan of 500,000. Where are you? When is the transaction? Mr. Tang? Let's meet at the tea house near your house. You just have to bring the real estate certificate. Okay, see you later. Tang lied, took a deep breath. Chapter 1269. He, who usually took the subway, hailed a cab and rushed home. He got the real estate certificate and went out. Lu Chunyue would be home later than him. This time was enough for him to settle the paperwork. Tangwa watched with her own eyes as Tang Lida transferred the 500,000 yuan to Tang Liping as soon as he received it. She gently shook her head. Then, she saw Tang Lide go to the market and buy some good food. When he got home, he actually took the initiative to cook. A man who never cooks suddenly cooks. There must be something wrong. Tangwa chuckled. I just don't know if my mom will find out. When Song Jinghua came home and saw Tang Lide cooking a lot of good food, she was really surprised. She asked Tang Lide if the sun rose from the west. Tang Lide vaguely used all kinds of reasons to fool her. He even said that he had been eating vegetables recently and his mouth had become light. Wasn't this his salary? Seeing that she didn't come back, he cooked himself. Song Jinghua didn't suspect anything. Indeed, she had been worried sick about money recently and had a lot of conflicts. Tang Lide said that he wanted to apologize to her or something. She didn't think much of it. The couple happily enjoyed their dinner. Tang Lide managed to hide this matter. Tangwa counted the days every day. When would the loan sharks come to her house to cause trouble? Anyway, her information was covered up by the system. Even if it was a loan shark, they couldn't openly cause trouble at her company. Moreover, she wasn't the one who borrowed the money. At most, they would take away her parents' house. She didn't think of stopping this. Her goal was to make the two of them lose everything. Who said that parents were always right? Whoever made a mistake had to pay the price. Originally, she planned to pretend to be a loan shark and get the couple's house. Later, she gave up on this plan. She didn't lack money. If the two of them found out that she was the one who did it in the future, they wouldn't repent. Not only would they not repent, but they would also blame her for being cold and heartless. It would be better to let Tang Lide find the loan sharks himself. When the loan sharks came knocking on his door, they would really come knocking on his door. She had already hidden herself far away. One good thing about Tang Lide and his wife was that when something happened, they would definitely go to their relatives for help. She reckoned that he would not have thought of her as his daughter at the first moment. Of course, when they found those relatives, they would remember that someone would remind them that they had a daughter. Tongzi, can you help me find out which nursing home in the country has the best reputation? She thought it through. Even if the two of them repented in the end, it would be best to send them to a nursing home. As for the assets that were recovered, they would be used to support the expenses of the nursing home. With their soft-hearted characters, if they had money in their hands, they would either be cheated by the family or grandma's family, or they would be cheated by the old women and old men in the nursing home. System, yes, host. The system didn't think that there was anything wrong with this. Compared to these two people, their final fate was to retire peacefully in a nursing home. This was really a very good ending. In fact, they should be thanking the host. Based on their behavior, they shouldn't expect the host to have any feelings for them. Just from the fact that the host didn't feel the feelings of the original owner this time, it was clear that she didn't like this world very much. However, why did the host want to find the best nursing home? Chapter 1270. Only filial children will send their parents to the best nursing home. When the time comes, won't they be able to chat with the old man and old lady in the nursing home about their families? There would be no harm if there was no comparison. Tangwa's smile reminded the system of a saying. The host was very hard-hearted. She did not intend to let go of these two people. If she was willing to send her parents to the best nursing home, she would definitely spend a lot of money. Most of these people were actually very filial. In fact, because they were busy, they did not have time to care about their parents. They would definitely talk about their families when they were chatting. At that time, the two of them would really be embarrassed. The host's habit of bearing grudges could not be changed. He had been waiting for this day for 2 months. During this time, Song Jinghua did not know that the house had been taken by Tang Lide for a loan, and it was a loan shark. What was a loan shark? It was the kind of loan shark that could make you bankrupt when the profits rolled in. Tang Lide had wanted to pay it back slowly every month. He was experienced, and his salary was not low, but he could not afford to use it to pay off the loan sharks every month. In the first part of the third month, the loan sharks almost exploded Tang Lide's phone with calls, because in the second month, Tang Lide did not pay back enough for that month. Now that the interest was rolling in, he probably did not know how much he owed the loan sharks. He had always known that loan sharks were scary, but he never expected it to be this scary. Why is it 1 million? Tang Lide was stunned when he heard that he had to pay a total of 1 million. How could it be? It had only been 2 months, and the third month had just begun. Mr. Tang, because you did not pay back the quota on time last month, your reputation has been affected. At the same time, you have to pay us a penalty of 300,000 yuan for not being able to pay off the stipulated amount in time. You can read the contract. It's written very clearly. In total, you have to pay us a total of 1 million yuan. Tang Lida almost fainted from the shock. So, Mr. Tang, how do you plan to return the money to our company? You can still choose to pay back the quota every month, or you can choose to pay us a total of 1 million yuan. Mr. Tang, I'll kindly remind you that you'll return 1 million yuan today, but it'll be different tomorrow. Tomorrow? How much will it be tomorrow? Tang Lida took a deep breath and asked, "Wait a moment, let me calculate." After a minute, the voice came again. "If you return it tomorrow, Mr. Tang will have to pay us 1,033,333 yuan. So, I'll have to pay an extra 100,000 yuan a month?" "Yes, Mr. Tang." In the end, Tang Lide hung up the phone while trembling. His heart was in a mess. Originally, he only owed 500,000 yuan, but now he had to return 1 million yuan. He had to return it as soon as possible. Otherwise, the interest would be too frightening. 100,000 a month. That would be more than 1 million a year. No, that's not right. It should be more than that, because the money is rising every month. Tang Lide didn't know what to do. His only thought was that he had to return the 1 million immediately. The first person he thought of was Tang Liping. He took out his phone and called Tang Liping. "Brother." "What is it?" "Read." Brother, can you return the 1 million yuan to me first?" Chapter 1271. Tang Lida couldn't care about anything else. "Big brother, I'm in trouble. If I can't return the 1 million, I'm afraid this family will fall apart." Tang Liping asked in surprise, "What's going on, Lida? Tell me properly. What do you mean by falling apart? Could it be that Xiaoguo is in trouble?" No. Tang Lida thought that his brotherhood with Tang Liping was the best. Therefore, she told the other party clearly about how she had used her house to borrow money from the loan sharks. He thought that after he finished speaking, Tang Liping would definitely sympathize with him. No matter what, he would think of a way to help him return the 1 million. In his opinion, they were brothers who relied on each other for survival. If Tang Liping encountered such a situation, he would not hesitate at all. Even if he had to risk his life, he would help him. Now that he was in trouble, as his brother, Tang Liping would definitely help him through the difficulties. He never thought that after Tang Liping heard this, he would only ask in surprise, "Lida, why can't you think it through? Why did you borrow from a loan shark?" "Big brother, it wasn't because you were in urgent need of money that I had no choice but to borrow this. Who knew that it would be so scary? Lida, if you had said earlier that you were going to borrow money from a loan shark to help me, I definitely wouldn't have borrowed money from you. Lida, you can't touch loan sharks. What should we do now?" "Yeah, what should we do?" "Big brother, my family doesn't have a single cent now. We've been emptied out, and only that house is left. This house has always been Jinghua's flesh and blood. If we really have to sell the house to pay off the debt, Jinghua will go crazy." Tang Lida was a little regretful. He really shouldn't have borrowed money from a loan shark. "Big brother, can you help me think of a way? Right now, I really need 1 million. Don't you have 2 houses? Can you sell one of them?" Tang Liping said, "Lida, it's not that Big brother doesn't want to help you. It's just that so many things happened to my family before, and it was you who helped me. If I had the ability, why would I borrow money from you? There are 2 houses. One is under Jiming's name. This house cannot be sold no matter what. Jiming is already like that. If he doesn't have a house, how will he live the rest of his life? Lida, you can't bear to see Jiming end up without a house in his old age, right? It's not that I can't help you with your sister-in-law's house, but I can't sell it at all. Why? Tang Lide's heart turned cold when he heard this. Why? It was different from what he had imagined. Could it be that his eldest brother's family was really that difficult? Tang Liping said, so many things have happened before. Do you think we didn't think of a way? Your sister-in-law and I still have debts under our names. We've already mortgaged our house. This is an official mortgage made at the bank. If you don't calculate it properly, it won't work. Lida, why don't you call third brother and ask him? If it doesn't work out, you can ask Jinghua to call her family and ask. I heard that Jinghua's family is going to be demolished. Maybe we can get some compensation. I'm going to deliver food to Jiming. You can ask third brother first. Tang Lide looked at the phone in a daze. Then, he called the family's third brother, Tang Lixing. Second brother, our Mingming is still in school. It's not that I don't want to help you, but every family has its own difficulties. Chapter 1272. Mingming is my daughter. I still have a wife. I can't possibly tear down our small family just to help you, right? If I really do that, I'll be letting my daughter and wife down. It wasn't easy for me to get to where I am today. Second brother, 1 million is too difficult. Who can easily afford it? I only have one daughter, Mingming. In the future, in order to not let her suffer losses, I have to buy her a house before marriage. Second brother, I'm sorry. You should ask big brother. You've helped big brother so much. Even if he has to sell everything he has, he'll help you pay off your debt. Tang Lide returned home numbly. Smelling the delicious food, he had no appetite at all. He sat on the sofa and muttered to himself, how could this be? Seeing this, Tanghua had already exited the system's monitoring screen. The system was very interested. Wasn't Tang Lide very capable? Didn't he say that he had to help his relatives no matter what? Wasn't it good to help each other? How could he not help his biological brother? Even if his family had to suffer, he still had to help them. Now, retribution had come. Just look. Would the people he had helped so wholeheartedly help him when he was in trouble and needed help? Regardless of whether others were happy or not, the system felt that he was quite happy. From now on, it was time for the host to abuse the system. He had a breath of air that had been suppressed in his heart for a long time. In these 2 days, Tang Lide had approached many people. Some of these people were relatives, and some were colleagues. Without exception, these people were all people he had helped with his heart and soul. The most generous one lent him 5,000 yuan. Some even gave him a red packet of 200 yuan, saying that they couldn't help because the amount was too much. No one thought that they should tear down their small family to do charity and help someone they were familiar with. Even if this person had helped them before, they didn't need to pay such a huge price in return, right? After 3 days, Tang Lide had an extra 10,000 yuan in his hands. Looking at the transfer on his phone, Tang Lide's eyes were a little sore. Song Jinghua found out about this matter a few days later. With Tang Lide's current ability, it was impossible for him to repay the loan sharks. They would definitely contact Song Jinghua. They planned to call Tanghua, but they couldn't get through, so they gave up. When Song Jinghua found out that Tang Lide had used the house to borrow money from loan sharks, she fainted on the spot. After Song Jinghua entered the hospital, Tang Lide remembered to call Tanghua. When Tanghua arrived at the hospital, Tang Lide pulled her aside and asked, Xiaogua, do you have any money on you? Dad, why are you asking this? Tanghua asked with a smile. Do you have any? How much do you have? Lend it to me first. Tanghua's lips curled up slightly. Didn't you teach me that adults can't borrow money casually? Even if I'm your child and I'm already an adult, I can't just ask you for money. When I bought the car, I borrowed money. Dad, you're right. Adults need to learn how to solve problems by themselves. Xiaogua, you're too heartless. I'm your father. Can't you help me? It's fine if others are cold to me, but you're my daughter. How can you treat me like this? Dad, I have the obligation to support you, but I don't have the obligation to repay your debts. That's right. You're my father. Why are you so passionate and devoted to others? Chapter 1273. You'll generously lend out your savings. As for my daughter, you'll have to help her borrow money to buy a car that costs 200,000 yuan. When others come to our house, you'll serve them lavishly. I give my family a few thousand yuan for food every month, and we'll eat whatever we want. Why are you being so particular in your own home? Tang Lide felt a little embarrassed. Xiaoguo, this is a serious matter. If we don't have money, we won't be able to keep the house that your mother and I bought. Dad, there's nothing I can do. I just repaid my debt some time ago. The company's profits haven't been good this year, so I don't have money. You should be able to fork out some money, right? I can't. Tang's lips curved. Why don't you sell the house to pay off your debt? It's the same if you rent a house. I've been living outside for a few months now. It's pretty good to be free. Tang Lide then remembered that Tangwa hadn't lived at home for a long time. She had been renting a house all this time. With her salary, she really couldn't fork out any money. Song Jinghua was fine. She was just angry. Tangwa didn't give her anything. She just bought some fruits. There were still many people who came to visit Song Jinghua, but most of them just put down a bag of fruits, gifts, and flowers. They didn't say much and left quickly. No one from the Song family came. They only called Song Jinghua to express their concern and said that they were busy and couldn't come. Just as Tang Guo was about to leave, Tang Lide hurriedly called out to her. Xiaoguo, you're leaving just like that? What's going to happen to your mother if you leave? Dad, aren't you here? Tangwa smiled. Dad, you've angered Mom. Why aren't you taking good care of her? You're our daughter. You should stay and take care of your mother. Tang Lide pulled a long face. It's the duty of a child to take care of her parents when they're sick. Dad, if I take care of Mom, I'll lose my job. I don't have parents who care about my future. I have to earn everything on my own. You don't have to worry about food. It's time. If you don't have time or money to eat, I'll order takeout for you online. Tangwa left with a smile on her face. Tang Lide stood in place, feeling a little choked. Jinghua, Xiaoguo is really too insensible. Song Jinghua lay on the bed, not saying a word. Jinghua, don't be sad. I'll find a way. We won't lose our house. Song Jinghua turned to look at Tang Lide. Borrow it from your brother? Is he willing? Tang Lide stopped talking. After a long time, he continued. Why don't you borrow some from your family? My brother just bought a house, and my sister still has 2 children in school. They are all in need of money. Where do you expect me to borrow money from? Big brother, didn't you say that your old house is going to be demolished? After the demolition, we'll have some money. Let's borrow some from Mom first. When we have money, we'll return it. Demolition? Song Jinghua blinked. When did this happen? You don't know? How would I know? Song Jinghua asked. She didn't have any news at all. She suddenly remembered something and her expression changed. What's wrong, Jinghua? Song Jinghua's heart was already in a mess. She took out her phone and called old Madam Song. Jinghua? What's the matter? I heard that you're in the hospital. Are you feeling better? I'm fine now. Song Jinghua's voice was slightly cold. Mom, I'm in need of money now. Can you lend me some money? Chapter 1274. Jinghua, I can't take out the money now. The money is used to buy a house for your brother. How can I have money? Mom, is our house going to be demolished soon? She had never paid much attention to these things. Moreover, the Song family was in a bustling city area. Who knew that they were preparing to be demolished? When she got married, she didn't move her household registration here. A few years ago, old Madam Song came to her and asked her to move her household registration to Tang Lide. How could the two of them have different household registrations? Moreover, old Madam Song also said that she planned to move one of her elder sister's daughter's household registration to their house. Her elder sister had married far away, and her younger daughter, Yu, liked this city. Coincidentally, she had moved her household registration away, so there was an empty spot that was suitable for her elder sister's younger daughter, Yu. Now that she heard that the house was going to be demolished, Song Jinghua couldn't help but think more about this matter. Who did you hear it from? There is such a thing. but there's no confirmation yet. Even if the house is demolished, it will take a long time. We can't get the money now. In order to raise money for your brother to buy a house, I eat vegetables every day now, old Madam Song stammered. Song Jinghua couldn't ask anymore. The couple was very silent in the ward. All of this was clearly seen by Tanghua through the system's monitoring screen. Seeing that the two of them had fallen silent, she didn't look anymore. Xiaoguo, do you need my help with what happened to your family recently? Yuan Shua asked. After all, it was such a big matter, and she was the person he liked. If she asked, he could help her solve all the problems related to loan sharks. If you want money, I can lend it to you first. Tanghua looked up and smiled. Am I short of money? Yuan Shua patted his head. That's right. Was she short of money? She wasn't short of money, so she watched all of this as if she was waiting for something. What was she waiting for? Xiaoguo, are you just going to watch them like this? What else can I do? Tanghua drank her milk tea. Do you want me to help them pay off the loan sharks and let them continue to help outsiders and be philanthropists, tighten their belts, and be generous to others? Then what's your plan? When they have nothing left, let them experience what it feels like to have no one to rely on, to be abandoned by their friends and family. Let's see if the people who were once generous to them will send them charcoal in the snow. You mean to say that we should use these things to wake them up and reflect on themselves? Tanghua laughed and replied, No, I won't. How is that possible? I'm not that kind. They only have the grace of raising me. Naturally, I only have the obligation to support them. I can't do anything else. Chapter 1275. She was like a vixen with a heart of stone, an emotionless vixen. As soon as she appeared, she stole his soul away. The first time they met, he knew that she wasn't a simple woman and wasn't a kind person. But he liked this kind of woman. He liked her shrewdness and scheming, her intelligence as snow. He liked her sharpness and her heart as hard as iron. He also liked the gentleness she occasionally revealed. Did I charm you? Tanghua gently raised her eyes, the corners of her lips slightly raised, and her voice was low and soft. Brother Shua. The sweet Brother Shua made Yuan Shua's mind go blank. At this moment, all he could see and think about was the woman sitting opposite him. Did she charm him? If she wasn't, would he be sitting here? Would he bump into her every morning for the next few months? Would he get off work on time and move the meeting to the morning? Because he wanted to see her and talk to her, he gave her all his free time. He finally understood why his mother was more important than him in his father's eyes. He remembered very clearly that when he was a child, he was naughty and made his mother cry. When he was beaten, his mother also cried. When his father came back, he didn't even look at him. He hugged his mother and started to coax her. He was only 5 years old at that time. He was just a baby, okay? But his father was coaxing his mother. In the end, not only did he not get any comfort from his father, he was also scolded by his father for being disobedient and making his sweetheart cry. Yuan Shua understood that feeling. Brother Shua, you're distracted. Yuan Shua came back to his senses and looked at her. I'm charmed. What? Tanghua raised her eyebrows and repeated, What did you say, Brother Shua? I said I'm charmed. I'm charmed by you. Yuan Shua admitted honestly. He could no longer hide the affection in his eyes. Xiaoguo, you've captivated me for a long time. You've captivated me so much that I've lost my direction. Only with you can I see the road clearly. PFFF, Tanghua laughed. Brother Shua, I didn't expect you to be such an artistic person. No, I'm not. I'm a more realistic person. All of my literary and artistic cells were born because I saw you. If it weren't for you, there wouldn't be them. System. These cheesy words of love have never changed. Every time you say it, it's always a set. Tanghua could not stop smiling. So, Brother Shua, what are you trying to say? Yuan Shua paused and looked straight at her face. What I want to say is that I don't know when a girl has taken root in my heart. I can't pull out any roots. If I chase her out of my heart, there will be many holes in my heart, and I will die because of it. System. All right, you're my life. This guy really knows how to talk. Xiaoguo, this girl is you. Tanghua pursed her lips and smiled. Brother Shua, do you mean that you like me? Yes, I like you. How much do you like me? Yuan Shuo thought for a moment. I like you more than I like myself. System, wow, I love you more than I love myself. Is that what you mean? Yuan Shuo hurriedly took out a box from his pocket and pushed the exquisite little box in front of Tang Guo. This is a meeting gift from my mother. I accompanied her for a long time the other day. I don't know if you like it. Chapter 1276. Tang Guo opened the box, and to her surprise, there was a pink diamond the size of a thumb inside. The box was beautiful, but the pink diamond inside was even more beautiful. Do you like it? Yes, Tang Guo replied. You are too kind. I'm glad you like it. This pink diamond was brought back by my dad's friend. It's my mom's favorite. She heard me talk about you and really likes you. So she picked the biggest one for you. Keep it if you like it. My mom has a lot. If she doesn't have it, my dad will look all over the world for her. System. Is this your biological daughter? Then I'll take it. Tangwa picked up her bag and rummaged through the things inside. In fact, she was asking the system to help her pick a beautiful gem in the space. After a while, she found a ruby the size of a pigeon's egg in her bag, which was also kept in a small box. When she raised her head and was about to hand the box to Yuan Shuo, she was stunned by everything around her. Tongzi, what's going on? Why did the customers of the milk tea shop leave, and the milk tea shop turned into a flower shop in an instant? There were flowers everywhere, most of which were red roses. Apart from the place where they were sitting, there was also an aisle leading outside, which was covered with flowers. Even the ground was covered with red roses. Just now, she had lowered her head and was seriously picking out the gems. She did feel that there were people walking around, but she didn't know that they were doing these things. What else could it be? Host, your cutie has confessed his love, so it must not be a simple confession. He saw that you were interested in him, so of course he wanted to do something romantic to give you a good memory. Tangwa certainly knew. She just asked that subconsciously. Her eyes fell on Yuan Shua's excited and nervous face. Brother Shua, did you prepare this for me? Yes, do you like it? He had wanted to do this for a long time, but he didn't know what she meant. If she didn't have feelings for him, she might not like it if he made such a big fuss in public. Now that he understood that she had feelings for him, of course he couldn't miss such an opportunity. Such an opportunity was hard to come by, so he didn't want to let it go. A few months ago, he really wanted to marry her, especially because of the family she was born in. He wanted to take her away and give her a lifetime of happiness. In his heart, no one could compare to her. He would never be like her parents, siding with an outsider. In his world, she was the most important. Of course I do. Yuan Shuo still had a rose in his hand. Hearing her say that she liked it, he stood up and walked to her. He bent down slightly and handed the rose to her. This is the most beautiful one. It's for you, Xiaogua. Tangwa held the rose in her hand and Yuan Shuo said, then from today onwards, you are my girlfriend, right? Brother Shu, you really know how to strike while the iron is hot. Tangwa pursed her lips into a smile. She waved the rose and the pink diamond in her hand and said, I've already accepted the gift. What do you think? When Yuan Shuo heard this, a smile crept up his face. He stretched out his hand and said, then can I invite you to dance? After he said this, a staff member had already come in and placed the surrounding flowers by the side of the milk tea shop. Beautiful music also sounded in the shop. Outside the milk tea shop, the people who were clapping were actually the customers who had disappeared earlier. Chapter 1277. Tangwa put her hand in his, and the two danced in the milk tea shop. The customers outside and the staff of the shop smiled and gave them their blessings. When they left the milk tea shop, Yuan Shuo held Tangwa's hand tightly in his palm, afraid that she would slip away. He didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he took her to the car. This woman was his now. Yuan Shuo thought to himself. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly and his eyes were full of smiles. Brother Shu, you were so nervous just now. Yes, I was nervous. I felt that it was a bit unrealistic. I was always afraid that you would be taken away when we were outside. I don't want to leave. Who dares to take me away? Yuan Shuo reached out and hugged her tightly. Tangwa could hear his strong heartbeat, and after a minute, he let go. I'll go back tomorrow and buy all the insurance for you. Tangwa, system. Little brother, aren't you afraid that you will become a single dog again? Brother Shuo, you are so considerate. I have an insurance company, a clothing company, and an electrical appliance company under my name. I have more than a dozen stores in various popular cities and a number of other investments. I haven't counted how much I have, Yuan Shuo said as if he was very familiar with his wealth. As for my parents' wealth, I don't know. Moreover, I don't care about their wealth. I can earn it myself, and I don't think it will be worse than my father's. They can do whatever they want with it. As for mine, it will all belong to you in the future. Yuan Shuo felt that he had to work harder, and he definitely couldn't be worse than his father. Did he think that he didn't know how to spoil his wife? He just didn't before. System. Okay. Although the way of thinking is a bit weird, this is the type that the host really likes. Yuan Shuo walked Tangwa to the door of the apartment. He looked at Tangwa reluctantly like an abandoned puppy, looking at her pitifully. Tangwa gave him a hug and took out the box she had prepared. This is my gift to Annie. Thank you for her pink diamond. I like it very much. Brother Shuo, Xiaogua, Yuan Shuo still didn't leave. Only when Tangwa's figure disappeared did he finally drive away. They had only been apart for a minute, but it felt like an eternity. When Mrs. Yuan heard that Tangwa had given her a gift, she snatched the small box from Yuan Shuo's hand and opened it. She was stunned. Wow, a ruby the size of a pigeon egg, so big. It's actually a ruby. It's so big. Yuan Shuo was also stunned. Judging from the color, this ruby was priceless. Moreover, under the light, no flaws could be seen. Mother Yuan glanced at the ruby and suddenly became unhappy. Son, I'm too stingy. I actually only gave her a small pink diamond. When are you going to bring her home? I want to bring her to my room to pick out some pretty jewelry. By the way, didn't you say that she comes from an ordinary family? Yuan Shuo was also slightly stunned. Then he remembered that the girl he liked was different. Xiaogua comes from an ordinary family, but she's not ordinary. Mother Yuan wasn't a calculative person. She knew that a girl who could catch her son's eye was definitely not an ordinary girl. Then this girl is amazing. She's very good at trading stocks. The two had known each other for so long. When talking about this, Yuan Shuo subconsciously said to Mrs. Yuan, she has good taste. I think that as long as she wants to, she can succeed in anything. Peak. Mom, I really have no other choice. If I don't return the money, I won't be able to keep the house. Old Madame Song looked embarrassed. Jinghua, aren't you making things difficult for an old woman like me? I don't have much money other than my pension. Second sister, I still have 2 students in my family. Both of them are in need of money. You don't know that they have to spend tens of thousands of yuan a month to attend tuition classes. How can they have any spare money? If they don't go to school, they won't be able to keep up with other children. Tell me, I can't delay my own children's future, right? Second sister, I just bought a house and have to pay the mortgage every month. My child is only 2 years old. My wife and I just started living with a house. I really don't have the money. If it wasn't so urgent, I would definitely help you in 2 years when the conditions are better. The apex. Chapter 1279. But now, I have no other choice. Song Jinghua was in despair, but she couldn't possibly let her family break up their small home just to subsidize her, right? Mom, we were talking about the demolition. How long do we have to wait? How would I know? It was rumored a while ago, but now it's gone silent. Who knows when it will be demolished? Old Madame Song said, Jinghua and Li, it's not that I want to scold you, but Li, even if you want to help your brother, do you need to borrow money from the loan sharks? Now our Jinghua is in trouble because of you. Tang Li couldn't stand it anymore. He pulled Song Jinghua and said, why don't we leave? In the end, old Madame Song didn't ask them to stay for dinner. When the two of them came, they were full of hope, but when they left, They were in a sorry state. As soon as they walked out, they heard the laughter inside and their expressions turned ugly. In the next few days, they thought of countless ways, but they still couldn't get the money. They also called Tangwa, but Tangwa naturally said that she didn't have the money. The loan shark company urged them to pay and called them almost every day to threaten them. They even threatened them verbally. In the end, they said that if they didn't pay back the money, they would go to their workplace and cause trouble. How could the two of them stand it and lose face at work? They finally decided to buy the house and pay the loan sharks. After half a month of delay, the amount of money they owed increased by a lot. Because they were in a hurry to sell the house, the price was much lower than the market price. Fortunately, they paid off the loan sharks in the end. With a few $100,000 left, the two of them packed their luggage and walked out of the house. Lee, where should we go now? Are we going to live the days of renting the house again? Song Jinghwa's expression was a little numb. She had worked hard for most of her life, and everything she had earned was gone. At this moment, Lu Chunyue and Tang Liping appeared. Lu Chunyue quickly walked in front of Song Jinghua and helped her take her luggage. Jinghua, I've already heard about what happened. Why don't you stay at our house for a while? You can slowly find a place to live. How about it? Brother, sister-in-law, why are you here? Tang Li asked, but his heart was warm. He had already said that in times of crisis, the one who helped him was still his own brother. Look, their daughter didn't care about them at all. If we didn't come, did we want to see you living on the streets? Lu Chunyue said, let's go home first. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's go home and eat. Tang Liping and Lu Chunyue's sudden appearance caused Song Jinghua and Tang Li to feel as if they had found their direction. They followed closely behind them, feeling extremely moved. Although Tang Liping's family hadn't been able to help before, that was because they had no way to help. If there was a way, he would definitely help them. Otherwise, why would he take them in when they were already on the streets? All of this was under Tangwa's attention. System, host, Lu Chunyue doesn't have good intentions, right? Does she look like someone who would let others take advantage of her? What do you think? I don't think so. She must have a motive. Take a look at my family chat group and see if there's any useful information. The system looked at it a few times and didn't see any problems. Wasn't it just recently discussing how Tang Li had borrowed money from loan sharks and had to sell his house to repay the loan? Tongzi, you still have to learn. After selling the house to repay the loan, don't you still have a few $100,000 left? Vertex. Chapter 1280. The system asked in surprise. Are they after the hundreds of thousands? Otherwise? System. Okay, I've learned it. Host. This Lu Chunyue is really black-hearted. Who asked these two to be such spendthrifts? Their contributions are not proportionate. Just by giving them some benefits and a few words of praise, they were moved beyond words. I'll wait and see how it turns out. Host. Your parents work well. Lu Chunyue's family will definitely keep them. Look at the plot later. Tangwa smiled faintly. The system scanned and fell silent. Well, he was a little stupid. Just like that, Song Jinghua and Tang Li moved into Lu Chunyue's house. On the day they moved in, everyone in the family knew about it. Many people were talking about how Tang Liping was really good to Tang Li. In the past, in order to provide for Tang Li's college education, he went out to work. Now that Tang Li had borrowed money from loan sharks and sold his house, he was homeless and took in his family. Lu Chunyue was also a virtuous and magnanimous person. She was actually able to accept them. After Song Jinghua moved into Lu Chunyue's house, because of the gratitude and guilt in her heart, she rushed to do the housework and cooking. In the beginning, Lu Chunyue would say a few words, no need. Later, she got used to it. Song Jinghua did everything. Buying groceries, cooking, washing clothes, cleaning the house, and even delivering food to Tang Jiming. Tang Li also did it. The couple had already done all the chores in Lu Chunyue's house. As for Lu Chunyue, after work, she would chat with the aunties in the neighborhood. When it was time, Song Jinghua would come down to call her for dinner. After living here for 2 months, Lu Chunyue and her husband had gained a lot of weight. Song Jinghua and Tang Li had lost a lot of weight. But none of them had ever thought of going out to look for a house. Every time this was mentioned, Tang Liping and Lu Chunyue would say that this was their own house. Why should they look for a house? They were all brothers. Couldn't they live together? When his brothers were in trouble, as the big brother, he had to help no matter what. These words moved Song Jinghua and Tang Li so much that their eyes brimmed with tears. Then, when the electrical appliances and furniture in the house broke, the two of them paid for them without hesitation. The high-class wheelchair that Tang Jiming needed was also bought by the two of them. In short, the two of them were willing to fork out the money. Unknowingly, there were only a few tens of thousands left. The two of them finally realized that they couldn't continue spending like this. Song Jinghua made all the meals at home, and Tang Li bought the groceries. Because they lived in Lu Chuanyue's house, they would always choose the expensive and good ingredients to buy. Otherwise, they would always feel guilty. In just half a year, Tang Li and Song Jinghua were really poor. Other than waiting for their monthly salary, they basically couldn't save any money. They had already treated Lu Chuanyue's home as their own and Tang Jiming as their own child. As for their daughter, she had long been thrown to the back of her mind and treated as if she didn't exist. Tanghua had been watching all this. Soon. Xiaoguo, what soon? Yuan Shua asked. Tanghua looked up and smiled. The show is about to start. What show? Yuan Shua reacted belatedly. About your parents? Aren't they living at your uncle's house now? He was also paying attention to these things. The news he heard really made him feel incredulous. Yes. Tanghua dug into the ice cream and ate it. The system was speechless. Did she like ice cream that much? Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1281. Xiaoguo, the weather is getting cold. Let's not eat this ice cream today. Don't eat it next time. Eat it next year when it's hot. But I want to eat it. Tanghua looked at him eagerly. I really want to eat it. Yuan Shua really couldn't do anything to her. After hesitating for a while, he said, then eat less, okay? Okay. Yuan Shua heaved a sigh of relief. Xiaoguo was still reasonable. One day, Song Jinghua was cooking when she suddenly fainted in the kitchen. Lu Chunyue, who was chatting with the aunties downstairs, didn't know. She was still puzzled. Usually, Song Jinghua would call her up at this time to prepare for dinner. Tang Liping was playing chess with the old man at the side. He was also puzzled why Song Jinghua's movements were so slow today. In the end, Tang Li felt that something was wrong. He went to the kitchen and saw Song Jinghua fainted on the ground. He hurriedly sent Song Jinghua to the hospital. Because of this, they spent all their money. So much so that Tang Li even paid him 2 months of salary. As for Song Jinghua, because of her health, she couldn't continue to work. With her age, she couldn't apply for early retirement. She couldn't work and couldn't retire early. She had enough pension, but she had to wait until she was old enough to get it. After recovering, Song Jinghua couldn't be tired. She had to be careful when cooking and doing housework. In the first week, it was fine, but in the second week, Lu Chunyue was not satisfied. Li, I want to discuss something with you. One day, Tang Liping found Tang Li. It's been half a year. Li, have you found a house to live in? Tang Li was stunned. He wanted to say something, but Tang Liping interrupted him. Chuanyue's parents are coming to live with us next month. They are old. We have to retire. Li, when are you going out to rent a house? I've heard you mention it before. Now you should have a place, right? Tang Li opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. He was the one who suggested renting a house. But Lu Chunyue had always told him that this was their home, so he didn't think about it. Brother, Li, I don't want to make things difficult for you, but I can't just ignore Chunyue's parents, right? Our parents died when we were young. My in-laws helped me a lot. Now that they're old, I have to take care of them. Got it. Tang Li's eyes dimmed. Jinghua and I will move out in a few days. Have you found the house? I've already found it. Tang Liping sighed. That's good. Come over often when you're free. If you have any questions, you can look for me. Tang Li didn't utter a word, but his heart felt somewhat uncomfortable. Of course, he couldn't find a house, but he couldn't make things difficult for his big brother. He had been living here for more than half a year. Tang Li turned around and told Song Jinghua about this matter. Song Jinghua fainted from anger. scaring Tang Li into hurriedly apologizing. Li, it's not like we're living here for free. How many furniture and appliances in this house were bought by us? You're the one buying the groceries, I'm the one cooking, and we're the ones doing the housework. Song Jinghua felt extremely sullen. They were the ones who wanted to let us stay here. They were the ones who said that they would treat this place as their home. Now they want to chase us away? Jinghua, don't make things difficult for your big brother. He can't not take care of two old people, right? The summit. Chapter 1282. The two quarreled and finally decided to move out. Host, why do you think they are doing this? Other people's home is still other people's home. What can they do if other people want to drive them out? They don't treat their relatives as outsiders. Unfortunately, everyone treats them as outsiders. When they have money, they are spendthrifts. When they don't have money, they quickly scram. Tang was said with a smile, Tisk, how pitiful. System, why does it sound like you are taking pleasure in other people's misfortune? It was confirmed that it was his dog Host. In less than 2 days, Song Jinghua and Tang Li packed their luggage and left Tang Liping's house. The two pulled their luggage, big and small, and walked out of the neighborhood. They looked miserable and pitiful. Let's go to my mom's house first. We should be able to stay there temporarily, Song Jinghua said. When you get your salary next month, we have to rent a house to live in. Got it. We won't live in other people's houses anymore. Okay, I'll listen to you. Li, what's wrong, Jinghua? Tang Li was a little sad. He felt sorry for the woman who had followed him since college and followed him for decades. No matter what he did, he should not have used the house to get a loan. Are you feeling unwell? No. Song Jinghua's eyes were red. She choked and said, in this life, will we still have a house? There will be. When he said this, Tang Li's voice was very low. It could be seen that he did not have much confidence. If he was 20 years younger, he would definitely say that there will be a house. But he was already old. He was in his 50s. He had long lost the courage to fight. He also did not have the body to fight. Even if he really risked his life, he might not be able to buy a house in the city. Really? Really? He could only speak to comfort Song Jinghua. Then let's go. Song Jinghua's voice did not sound happy. She subconsciously touched her neck and suddenly stopped. Li, the necklace you gave me, I think I forgot it in the drawer. Let's go back and get it. Okay, I'll go back with you. Tang Li suddenly remembered that it had been a long time since he had given Song Jinghua a gift. The two of them left their luggage at the guard's place. The guard was a good person and was willing to help them look after their luggage. Seeing the two of them supporting each other as they walked in, he shook his head. He was very clear about this family's affairs. Lu Chunyue was the smartest person in the neighborhood. She and Tang Liping would often play the role of good cop and bad cop. They would make people run in circles. The two of them walked to the door. The door was not closed tightly. Looking at some trash placed outside, they guessed that someone was cleaning the house. Just as they were about to enter, a voice came from inside, causing them to stop in their tracks. Your younger brother and sickly sister-in-law are finally gone. They can't afford it, and they want to stay in our house for free. Is there such a good thing? All right, stop talking. Can't we just chase them away? Hurry up and get rid of their garbage. They've been living in our house for more than half a year. It's annoying just looking at them. If it weren't for the fact that she can do some housework and cook, I really don't want them to stay in my house and make a mess. Look at them. They still don't want to leave. They have to use the excuse that my parents are coming over to retire. They have a daughter of their own, and they have to come and rely on you, the big brother. Our family is not helping the poor. Vertex. Chapter 1283. Xiaoguo is smart. She's not like the daughter of these two people. I don't think she'll care about them now. Whoever cares about them is stupid. Do they really think that they can stay in our house for free without spending money? Dream on. Keep your voice down. What if they hear you? Tang Liping quickly said, I don't plan to fall out with Li. Who knows what will happen in the future? If he gets up again, he has to remember our kindness. Don't offend us too much. Got it. I was just saying it to vent. The two people standing outside the door no longer had any thoughts of knocking on the door. Their faces were very pale. Song Jinghwa's eyes were full of tears. She touched her pocket and found not only a tissue, but also a necklace that she was looking for. She wiped her eyes and grabbed Tang Li to leave. Li, we're not going in. The necklace is in my pocket. Let's go, let's go. 1 ton and 1 T/I. Tang Li's face turned from pale to red. He was also holding back his anger. After the two of them got into the car with big and small bags, Tang Li said, I really didn't expect big brother and sister-in-law to be like that. Song Jinghwa didn't say anything. Tang Li muttered a few words to himself, expressing that he had misjudged and made a mistake. He shouldn't have believed that big brother was the one who treated him the best. He apologized to Song Jinghwa again until they got out of the car. The two of them arrived at old Madam Song's house. Old Madam Song looked at this scene and asked, Li Jinghwa, what are you doing? Why are you carrying so many bags? Where are you going? Mom, I want to stay with you for a while, Song Jinghwa said. Aren't you living well at Big Brother Li's house? Why do you want to stay here? Song Jinghwa pursed her lips and said, It's not good to always stay at someone else's house. Moreover, sister-in-law's parents are coming over. We can't make things difficult for them. So, you moved out and plan to stay here? Old Madam Song's eyes widened. Jinghwa, there's no room for you at home. It's not like you don't know that this place is small. There are only 3 rooms. I want to stay in one. Yu wants to stay in another, and my little grandson also wants to stay in one. Let the 2 children squeeze in, Song Jinghwa said. Squeeze? Old Madam Song quickly shook her head. How can I squeeze? Yu was a girl, and his little grandson was a little boy. How bad would that be? Moreover, both children like to stay in a room by themselves. Mom, we'll just stay here for a while. We'll move out after a while. Song Jinghwa almost begged old Madam Song. Old Madam Song shook her head. You'd better rent a house. You'll live comfortably if you pay for it yourself. Jinghwa, don't make things difficult for Mom. You've been married for decades. Why do you always make things difficult for your family? His salary is also so high. Isn't it enough for you to rent a house? It was enough, but when she was sick and hospitalized, Tang Li had given her 2 months' salary in advance. The next payment would be on the 15th of next month. Song Jinghwa was humiliated. Old Madam Song's words finally made her give up living in her maiden home. Jinghwa, you're already a few decades old. Don't do that kind of thing. Mom won't spoil you. Go. I won't keep you for dinner. Find a place to stay first and come back another day. Today, I'm going to pick you up from school. I don't have time to cook for you. Old Madam Song waved her hand. Song Jinghwa was too embarrassed to stay. She pulled Tang Li away. The two of them wandered around the nearby park for a while, feeling very lost. Fuping Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1284. Lida, we're homeless. Song Jinghwa's voice was filled with infinite sadness, causing Tang Lida's heart to ache. It's all my fault. It's also my fault. Lida, did we do something wrong? Song Jinghwa said in a daze. We used to treat them wholeheartedly, but now we've fallen into a situation where we have no home to return to. If anyone's in trouble, we'll do our best to help. Lida, look at us, we have nothing. No one extended a helping hand to us. Jinghwa, I was wrong too. I shouldn't have done those things. He shouldn't have left some leeway. He should have used his savings and even borrowed money from loan sharks to help his brother pay off his debts. Song Jinghwa shook her head and finally cried. Lida, it's too late. The things we worked so hard to earn for most of our lives are gone. Jinghwa, they still owe us money. Do you think they'll pay it back? When will they pay it back? Tang Lida didn't say anything. Yes, when will they pay it back? They didn't pay back the money they borrowed 10 years ago. In the cool breeze blowing in the park, the two of them hugged each other, but it couldn't stop the wind from blowing their hearts to the bottom. We still have to find a place to stay first, Song Jinghwa finally said. Since Mom doesn't want us to stay at home, I'll borrow 2,000 yuan from her. We'll rent a single room that's not so good and last until next month. You only took 2 days off and have to go to work the day after tomorrow. We can't stay like this forever. We need a place to stay. The two of them returned to Granny Song's house with big and small bags. Song Jinghua knocked twice, but didn't open the door. The neighbor next door walked over and said, "Jinghua, your mom probably want to pick up little fish. At this time, little fish is out of school." "Oh, I remember now," Song Jinghua said. "Hey Jinghua, you're carrying your luggage. Are you planning to come back to stay?" "No, no. TSK. I thought you heard that this place was going to be demolished, and we're planning to come back to stay for a few days to see the situation. This demolition has been talked about for a few years. It's finally going to be demolished this year. The people in our community are waiting anxiously. There are new high-rise buildings all around us, but this is an old and rundown community. Everyone is looking forward to it." Song Jinghua was stunned for a moment and asked, "Annie Lee, what did you say? This place was notified a few years ago that it was going to be demolished? How many years ago was it?" "About 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember the exact date. Anyway, it's been many years." Song Jinghua's face turned pale. 3 or 4 years ago. After calculating the time, wasn't that when old Madam Song asked her to move her household registration? Not long after she moved her household register away, you use household register moved in. She suddenly fell onto Tang Li's body, scaring Annie Lee. Jinghua, what's wrong with you?" "No, I'm fine." Song Jinghua struggled to stand up and forced a smile. "I haven't been feeling well recently. If you're not feeling well, you should go back and rest. When your mother comes back, she'll ask you to stew some good food for your body." After saying goodbye to Annie Lee, Song Jinghua maintained her composure and returned to the park with Tang Li. The two of them found a more secluded place and sat on a chair. Song Jinghua finally couldn't help but cry. "Lied. Is she my biological mother? A few years ago, she asked me to move my household register. I thought she was really doing it for my own good and was afraid that our relationship would be affected." Chapter 1285. So her plan is to chase me away so that you can move in. In the future, we can split the money and the house. In her eyes, only my eldest sister and third brother are her biological children? Tang Li was silent. He did not know how to comfort her. Song Jinghua kept venting. The general idea was that she had never forgotten to help her family all these years, but her family did not treat her as one of their own at all. Now, she had nowhere to go. She had no one to rely on. She did not even have a place to stay. The family that she had once treated with all her heart was actually so cold and heartless. They were not willing to help her at all. Old Madam Song even said that she was afraid that she would live off her parents. All these years, how much money had she taken back to her parents' family? Not to mention the big ones, just the money that old Madam Song, her eldest sister, and her underlings had taken from her piecemeal was at least 1 to 200,000 yuan, right? She had fed her heart to the dogs. How did she end up like this? Was she not good enough to them? The two people who were in the same boat hugged each other and sat on the cold chairs in the park. The surrounding wind was cold to the bottom of their hearts. They looked at the river in confusion. The sky gradually darkened, but the two of them did not move at all. They did not have enough money left, and they did not dare to stay in an expensive hotel. It was cold. They took out their thick winter clothes and put them on their bodies. Only then did they feel warmer. They fell asleep just like that. When they woke up in the morning, the two of them found that some of their luggage was missing. It was probably stolen by the beggars nearby when they fell asleep last night. What did it feel like to be at a dead end? Even though they had drifted for countless years, they had never been in such a sorry state. Today, they finally experienced it. This was a feeling full of despair. Tangwa watched everything about the two of them through the system's display every day. The two of them seemed to plan to temporarily settle down in the park and build a shed next to it. During the day, Tangli went to work while Song Jinghua picked up trash nearby. She wore a hat and covered her face, afraid that she would be recognized by familiar people. They felt that they would hold on until the 15th of next month. When Tangli received his salary, everything would be fine. However, one day, Song Jinghua received a call from Tang Li's colleague saying that Tang Li had been sent to the hospital. Tang Li was sick, but it wasn't a big problem. His condition was similar to Song Jinghua's, so he couldn't overwork himself in the future. Fortunately, the medical fees were paid by the company. Tang Li was still a few years away from retirement. With his current state, there was no way for him to continue working. They had no choice but to leave the unit. They did get their salary, but after that, they really had no income. Unless he lived until the day he received his pension. The two of them settled down in the park with the little money they had. During this period, both of them called their relatives to borrow money. Naturally, they did not manage to borrow any money. They also despaired of their so-called relatives and no longer had any thoughts about them. Originally, the two cultured people had been picking up trash in the park for a month. Finally, the money in their hands could no longer support them. In addition, they didn't dare to do work that was too tiring. They had to eat and sleep in the open, so their health was even worse. They all thought that they would freeze to death in the park. However, they didn't have the face to ask their daughter, Tanghua, for what she wanted. In retrospect, the person they had let down the most was actually their own daughter. However, was there any use in regretting it? Fuping Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1286. After sleeping in the open for more than half a year, the two of them were so hungry that they looked sallow and emaciated. The family Tang and the Song family never thought to ask how they were doing now. Winter came. The two of them were desperate, and their bodies couldn't take it anymore. One night, they had a high fever at the same time. In a daze, they heard someone talking. It seemed that they had been moved. In the end, they woke up in the hospital. When they opened their eyes, they saw Tang was sitting next to them. She had her head down and seemed to be looking at her phone. When they saw their daughter, whom they hadn't seen in a long time, their eyes were red. They wanted to say something, but they didn't know what to say. Dad, Mom, you're awake? Xiaogua, The two of them choked and didn't know what to say. I've already contacted the best nursing home in the province for you. Tanghua smiled and said, when you're well and discharged from the hospital, I'll send you there. I've paid for your expenses for 20 years. Your food, clothing, housing, and transportation are all covered. If you can live longer, I'll pay for your expenses. In the future, you can live in peace. Before you get your pension, I'll give you pocket money every month. I'll give each of you the same amount you gave me when I was in university. I've already ordered takeout for you. Someone will deliver it later. I have to go to work. Xiaogua, Song Jinghua called out to Tanghua. Tanghua turned around and looked at the two of them. Dad, Mom, take care of yourselves. I've said it before. You gave birth to me, so naturally, I have the responsibility to support you. She was indebted to them for raising her. She had the responsibility to support them. So, was there nothing else? The two of them stared blankly at Tanghua as she left. They couldn't say anything else. They remembered how they used to treat their only daughter. When she was young, they gave her food, clothes, and provided for her to go to school. There was nothing else. They used the rest of their time to care for their loved ones, but neglected their own daughter. When she was in university, her monthly expenses were 800 yuan. They told her that she was already an adult and that her parents had no obligation to give her a luxurious life. She had to fight for what she wanted. When she started working, she had to save up and borrow money to buy the car. Even though their family still had a lot of savings at that time. However, their savings had all been lent out and given away. That was how they ended up in their current state. As she thought about it, Song Jinghua burst into tears. As Tang Li comforted her, Song Jinghua couldn't stop crying. The other two aunties on the other beds asked what was wrong. Your daughter is so filial. Why is she crying? Look at that son of mine. He's always so busy. Mom's already in the hospital, but he doesn't even talk about paying for her treatment. He just comes to visit me and bring me 2 fruits. He's not even willing to call me every day. That's right. I heard from your daughter that she found you the best nursing home in the city. I know that place. It's really beautiful. Many people want to live there. It costs more than 10,000 yuan to stay there for a month, and your daughter actually extended your stay for another 20 years. If that child of mine is willing to send me there, I'll be burning incense to thank the gods. Don't think that it's not comfortable to live in a nursing home. That place is different. The staff are very patient, and there are people waiting on you every day. The people who live there feel that they're enjoying the life of a master and a wife. Song Jinghua was stunned. 10,000 yuan a month? Wouldn't that be a few million yuan for 20 years? Was her daughter that amazing? But why did she feel even worse? Why was she feeling indescribably bad? Many things from the past kept floating in her mind. Her daughter wanted to eat the candies she bought. She told Tanghua that they were all for Tang Jiming. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1287. Tang Jiming was a guest at their house, so she had to treat him well. In the end, she took $2 and went downstairs to buy lollipops for Tanghua. She felt that they were family, so they could eat anything. When treating guests, they had to bring the best things. Tang Jiming had taken a fancy to Tanghua's toy, so she agreed to give it to Tang Jiming without hesitation. Tanghua cried by her side. Wasn't it just a small toy? Her daughter was really too insensible. There were many such things. It was as if she was infinitely tolerant and kind to other children and other people. How could she be so harsh to her own daughter? Song Jinghua seemed to want to vent all of this. Perhaps she also wanted to ask a stranger if she had done the right thing. After hearing what she said, the two aunties' expressions were indescribable. Sister, I don't want to say anything. You two have been muddle-headed for most of your lives. That's your family. Your biological elder brother got married in his family. When you got married, you were also considered outsiders. It's fine if you help out with what you can, but you actually ruined your own family for the sake of helping outsiders. I have to say that you deserve it. 1 ton. 1 ton and 1 t/I. Just now, I was thinking why your daughter was so cold to you when she was clearly willing to spend money on you. I thought that young people nowadays don't care about family. I didn't expect that the problem lies with you. If I were in your daughter's position, I would have ignored your life and death long ago. For the sake of some outsiders, you mistreated your own daughter. As parents, you are not qualified. You clearly have savings, but you are not willing to sponsor your daughter to buy a car that costs 200,000. Instead, you lent the money to an ingrate outside. Really, your daughter is really too good. If I had a daughter like her, I would definitely take care of her since she was young. She is sensible, obedient, and filial. She is something that you can't even pray for by burning incense. But you don't know how lucky you are. The two aunties went back and forth and scolded the couple. They did not refute a single word. Instead, they were scolded until they came to their senses. Sister, although your daughter still cares about your future, I'm afraid she doesn't have any feelings for you. Song Jinghua and Tang Li were anxious. Song Jinghua hurriedly asked, Is there any way to remedy the situation? Big sis, please give us some ideas. We've already thought it through. Even if it's remedied, it's still a knot. However, doing something is better than doing nothing. Song Jinghua hurriedly asked, What should we do? Didn't you borrow a lot of money? Then, he would take back the money one by one. Not a single word is allowed to benefit outsiders. Looking at your daughter, she doesn't lack that bit of money. Looking at you, I'm afraid you don't know what your daughter is capable of. Get the money back and give it to your daughter. She won't mistreat you. At the end of the day, you owe your daughter. Song Jinghua and Tang Li were silent. The auntie continued, Don't be soft-hearted. Every time you feel soft-hearted, think about how you spent the past year picking up garbage for a living and how you almost died in the park. Look, in the end, do they care about your life or death? It was your daughter who brought you back. Why don't you think about how your daughter was able to find you so accurately? Didn't she pay attention to you often? If she didn't pay attention to you, would she have been able to find you? Sis, don't help those irrelevant people. Let's get along well as a family, said Fu Pinzhong. The apex. Chapter 1288. Big brother, when will you be able to pay back the money you owe me? While I'm free, I've calculated the money your family has borrowed from me over the years. As for the small things that I willingly gave to you, I won't be calculative. I calculated that you need to return me 3 million yuan. Li, what did you say? Tang Liping couldn't believe what he heard on the phone. Tang was actually asking him for money? Big brother, I'll say it again. Return the money. Tang thought a lot in the hospital these few days. Ever since that day, Tang would come once a day. Although she instructed the hospital staff to take care of them and ordered takeout for them on time, her attitude towards them was very cold. However, her attitude towards them was very cold. It was as if she really had said that she only had the obligation to provide for them. Tang felt uncomfortable. He lay on the hospital bed and recalled most of his life. He had the idea of slapping himself twice. How many stupid things had he done in his life? Lee, big brother. It's only right and proper to repay debts. Your family has 2 houses. Just sell one, and you'll be able to pay off the debt. Although we're blood brothers still have to settle accounts clearly. Lee, let's talk another day. I'm not free right now. The phone was hung up. Tang was a little lost in thought, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Before this, he had truly seen clearly that his biological brother was different from what he had imagined. He continued to call another number. Fortunately, he had an IOU when he borrowed money. It wasn't to the extent that he couldn't remember it clearly. Mom, you finally picked up the phone. Jinghua, what's the matter? Have you found a place to live? Song Jinghua said. Found it. That's good, that's good. I already said that you guys definitely have a way. How can you ask your family for help every time you have a problem? It's improper for a married daughter to bring a man back to her family to live. Mom, when are you going to return the money to me? I calculated that the money you borrowed from me, excluding the money I gave you, is a total of 800,000 yuan. No money, no money. Jinghua, you are really asking for death by mentioning the debt at this time. Do you only care about money? Old Madam Song seemed to be very angry and hung up the phone. Song Jinghua dialed Song Jinxiu's number. Sister, I'm here to collect my debt. I don't know when you'll pay me back, but it's $170,000. Second sister, my family. Big sister, every family has its difficulties. Now that I'm in trouble, it's only right for me to ask you for money. Jinghua, you're hurting our sisterhood by saying that. Big sister, I'm in trouble now. If you don't return my money, I also feel that it hurts our sisterly relationship. Second sister, let's talk about it another day. I'm busy. Beep, beep, beep. The couple spent the whole morning on the phone, questioning all the people who had lent them the money. The aunties in the 2 beds next door couldn't bear to listen any longer. Look, sister, what kind of people are you helping? All of them are acting like masters. You guys treated them like treasures before. Looking at Tang and Song Jinghua's silent and uncomfortable appearance, they didn't say anything else. Tang naturally knew about this matter. The system asked, Host, they seem to have really repented. So what? System, okay, nothing much. Anyway, the host has no affection for them. Staying in the best nursing home, these 2 people will probably be very uncomfortable. Fupin Chinese Apex. Chapter 1289. They lived in the best place, had people to serve them, wore good clothes, and ate good food. But they had already been abandoned by their family. Perhaps this was the greatest revenge. What these 2 people valued the most was their friendship. They had already lost their siblings, parents, friends, and colleagues. Now, they had to lose their children. Sad, lamentable. When Tangwa got off work and arrived at the hospital, she saw the 2 of them frowning and asked for the reason. The 2 of them looked at Tangwa eagerly and told her about the matter. They said that they might not be able to get back the money they had lent. Dad, Mom, if you're determined to get back the money you lent, I can help you get it back. They had to get the money back. There was no reason to let those people take advantage of them. Xiaogua, do you have a way?
And yes.
Tangwa raised her eyebrows and smiled faintly. It depends on whether you can be ruthless. What I do will really break up your relationship. Do you dare? The 2 of them hesitated for a moment and asked, How? Sue them and use legal means to take back our property. If they don't give it to us, the court can use coercive means and use their house to pay off the debt. Don't worry, I'll help you hire the best lawyer. I guarantee that you can win the case. Then, I'll go to the company and hire 2 people to collect the debt. When the 2 of them heard this, they were shocked. Was she going to make such a big deal? Take your time to think about it. Tangwa left. The 2 of them fell into hesitation. The 2 aunties beside them couldn't stand it anymore. What are you hesitating for? Agree. Those people don't care about you at all. Now, it's no different from cutting off your relationship. Do you think it's embarrassing? When you lived in the park and picked up the trash, no one helped you. Isn't it embarrassing? If it weren't for your daughter, you would have died in the park. That's even more embarrassing. You'll be laughed at by the people in society every day. And the next day, the 2 of them handed all the IOUs to Tangwa. They expressed that they would leave everything to her. What's this? Yuan Shua asked curiously when he saw Tangwa holding a metal box. The box used to store candy. It was a little faded. They're all IOUs. Tangwa opened the metal box and pursed her lips into a smile. Those 2 idiots. They've been lending money to others all these years, and others have given them IOUs. Yuan Shua. Why did they give you the IOU? They wanted to collect the debt, but they didn't seem to have the ability to get it back. I said I could get it back, so they gave it to me. Tangwa said, let's just treat this sum of money as their living expenses in the nursing home. We can't possibly let those top-notch people benefit from it, right? Brother Shua, do you know a lawyer? Yuan Shua said, yes. Are you going to file a lawsuit? Of course, don't they care about their faces the most? Then I'll shed all pretense of cordiality in front of everyone and expose their faces. I'll let everyone see what kind of people they are. These hypocrites, do they really think they can live their lives in peace? Dream on, the good days are yet to come. Then I'll help you find a few lawyers who are capable and only care about money. Tangwa chuckled. Brother Shua, you really understand me. Actually, she felt that it was good for this guy to do it himself. But in this life, he was not a lawyer. Yuan Shua was a little embarrassed. Isn't it normal to help my girlfriend? When do you need it? I'll contact someone immediately. Yes, as soon as possible. I want to solve this matter as soon as possible. I have evidence and everything. The main purpose is to get the money back. The peak. Chapter 1290. Tang Liping, Lu Chunyue, Old Madam Song, and the others never thought that they would receive a court summons one day. They were actually sued. The people who sued them were Tangwa, Tang Lide, and Song Jinghua. That day, Song Jinghua and Tang Lide's phones were ringing nonstop. At first, the 2 of them were still wondering if they were being too unreasonable by doing this. When these people called and scolded them, they only said, "Why don't you return the money and this matter will be over? It won't look good in court, but our family has no choice. If you return it now, I won't charge you interest. If we go to court, you'll have to charge me interest." The 2 of them did not waver at all because of the other party's bad attitude. On the phone, their relatives, who were originally familiar with them, scolded them for being ingrates, for not being loyal, and for being cold. They felt terrible at the beginning, but now they felt calmer. Let's leave this matter to Xiaogua. We won't interfere. Song Jinghua said tiredly, it's boring. It's really boring. Among old Madam Song's children, she could be said to be the most filial. She would think of old Madam Song for everything, but just now, old Madam Song actually scolded her for being unfilial and ungrateful. All kinds of unpleasant words made her feel sad. Especially that sentence, if she had known, she would have abandoned her back then and only raised her elder sister and younger brother. It was also today that she found out that old Madam Song had always wanted to abandon her because her second child was a daughter. No wonder old Madam Song always thought of her elder sister and younger brother, but was so harsh on her. Finally, the day arrived. The defendant and the plaintiff met. The defendant, led by old Madam Song and Lu Chunyue, looked at Song Jinghua and Tang Lide and cursed. Basically, it was old Madam Song and Lu Chunyue who were cursing. The other men also looked at the 2 of them with ugly expressions. At the entrance of the court, Tang Liping and Tang Lixing arrived. Tang Liping said, "You ungrateful thing. Back then, big brother, back then, you sponsored me for a year. I've been paying you back for decades." Tang Liping was speechless. Second brother, are you really going to hurt our brotherhood? Tang Lixing asked. Tang Lida laughed mockingly. Third brother, second brother took good care of you back then, didn't he? Our parents died early. From high school to university, I was the one who sponsored your education, right? I was the one who helped you buy the house, right? Your car isn't cheap, is it? Why can't you pay me back with a mere 100,000 yuan? Tang Lixing's face sank, but he didn't say anything else. Unfilial daughter, you unfilial daughter. How can I have a daughter like you? If I knew this day would come, I would have thrown you into the manure pit and drowned you when I gave birth to you. Old Madame Song cried with tears and snot. Tang Mingming walked up to Tanghua and snorted. Cousin, you've sowed discord and destroyed the relationship between family members. You're heartless, cold, and heartless. You're really capable. You actually persuaded second uncle and second mother to sue all of us. Now, the whole world knows about our family. Don't you feel ashamed? No, Tanghua smiled and said, it's not like I'm the one who owes money and doesn't want to pay it back. I'm not the one who's shameless. What's there to be ashamed of? I'm just using my rights to take back the property that belongs to our family through legal means. If word gets out, people will only think that you're shameless. They'll even sympathize with our family for having such terrible relatives like you. Chapter 1291. When you're rich, you're all here for free. When you're down, you don't care. You're cold and heartless. Tanghua sneered. Ming Ming, did you forget all the etiquette and shame you've learned? You. Tang Mingming was furious. What do you have? You're just a small employee in a company with a salary of less than 10,000. Your boyfriend is an insurance salesman. What's so great about you? Don't show off. I'm going to study abroad in the future. When I come back, I'll be a top student with a starting salary of 10,000. I'll be 10,000 times better than you who only knows how to talk. My boyfriend will definitely be a big boss in the future. He'll do better than you in everything and live better than you. Many people were watching and discussing. The Song family and the family felt embarrassed. After they went in, everyone subconsciously fell silent. Even an unreasonable old lady like old Madame Song did not dare to say anything loudly. It was her first time being sued in court. Seeing so many eyes on her, she wanted to cover her face with her sleeves. Tanghua had come prepared for this lawsuit. There was almost no suspense. She would only win. During this time, those people did not admit that the IOUs were from them. They even said that the dates on the IOUs were not clear. In any case, those people were helpless. Tanghua said, I have video evidence. When she said this, everyone was shocked. Video evidence? Even Song Jinghua and Tang Lide were confused. When they saw the video of those people borrowing money from their house, they were stunned. Tang Lide and Song Jinghua did not know when the cameras were installed in their living room. System? Of course not. It's his ability. We don't have the money to return it. Yes, if we had the money, we would have returned it long ago. Why would we wait until now? Everyone said this to show that they could not return it. It was not that they did not want to return it, but that they would return it in the future. As for when the future would be, who knew? At this time, Tanghua showed the proof of all the assets under their names. Even some hidden assets were found. At that time, everyone shut up and looked at Tanghua as if knives were flying out of their eyes to stab her. I'll give you 1 month. If you refuse to pay the debt, I'll sue you again and ask the court to confiscate your properties to repay the debt. After walking out of the court, Madame Song raised her head and pointed at the noses of Tanghua's family. She scolded them for being heartless and cruel. That's right. Since you know that I'm cold and heartless, you know that I'll definitely ask for the money back. Let me give you a piece of advice. Go back and prepare the money. After a month, if I don't receive the money, I'll keep my word. There is no need to talk about friendship with me. There is no friendship between us. You all said that I am cold and heartless. Yuan Shuo was already waiting outside. He was dressed especially handsomely today. He walked to Tanghua and asked, Did you win? Of course, I have so much evidence. Even a stupid lawyer can win the case. Brother Shua, you didn't go to the office today? Yuan Shua looked at her gently. My girlfriend is going to court. How can I focus on work? Of course I have to come here and wait for you to come out. Tang Mingming was stunned. Was this man really Tangwa's boyfriend? Pfft, you're just an insurance salesman. What's there to dance about? Brother Shua, you really know how to make people happy. You're my girlfriend. Of course, I have to coax you. I still have to coax you into marrying me. You mean, after we get married, we don't need to coax her anymore? No, no, no. After we get married, I have to coax you even more and make you happy. That's my goal. Brother Shua, you're so sweet. I'm only like this when I'm with you. Yuan Shua moved closer to Tangwa and looked at her seriously. Xiaogua, can I kiss you? Of course. But can you tell me why you want to kiss me? You look so sweet. I really want to eat you. System. Escape. Escape. Chapter 1293. Yuan Shua carefully kissed the corner of Tangwa's mouth. She felt that the way he cherished it was extremely cute. Tangwa hugged his neck and kissed him back. Then she said, Brother Shu, you're so cute and likable. Xiaogua, the way you praise people is very charming, and the way you praise people is also different. Ever since I was young, no one has ever praised me for being cute and likable, Yuan Shua said. They only know how to say that this little boy is so cool and handsome. But now I feel that the word cute is more suitable for me. System, can I vomit? Tangwa was successfully amused. I always feel happy talking to Brother Shua. Yuan Shua was also very happy when he heard this. He also hoped that she would always be happy with him. When two people were together, of course they had to be happy. If they weren't happy, what was the point of being together? Yuan Shua started the car. Where are we going now? Do you want me to send you back to the apartment? No, let's go to the nursing home. We'll send my parents there first and settle them down. Okay. Li, did you see today? I saw. Tang Li hugged Song Jinghua tightly and said in a low voice, Jinghua, I've let you and our daughter down. Xiaogua is cold and distant to us now. That's all our fault. I'm also wrong. I've always felt that family relationships need to be protected. If anyone's family is in trouble, we must do our best to help. I forgot that I should be good to you and our daughter. You should be the most important people in my life. Other people are still other people. We're not family. They have other families. They won't give up their own family because of someone who once helped them. I'm too stupid. She had thought a lot during those chilly nights in the park. She also thought a lot on the hospital bed. In the court, she was deep in thought when she saw those familiar and kind faces suddenly become ferocious. After leaving the courthouse, the pitiful people who had once begged her for help scolded her. Her biological mother pointed at her with a pained expression and scolded her, saying that she was an ingrate and that she should be thrown into a cesspool and drowned to death. She had experienced the feeling of not being cherished by her parents and even being despised by them. They had been too harsh on their daughter since she was young. As long as the children of other families came to their house, they could tolerate them. This was because she couldn't be calculative with children. She was afraid of offending people and also wanted to save face. However, she couldn't tolerate a small problem with her own child. How could she treat her own daughter like this? Now that she thought about it, they were obviously rich, but when her daughter went to university, they only gave her 800 yuan a month, which was only enough for her to eat. When their daughter bought a car, they did not intend to sponsor her. Parents would consider their daughters and buy a house before marriage as a backup plan. Their family, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. They only cared about other people's families. Thinking about it, Song Jinghua was filled with regret and heartache. Tang Li was the same. Xiaogua, I'm afraid you don't have much affection for us anymore. Song Jinghua felt terrible. Why do you think I was like that back then? Tang Li didn't know how to persuade her because he was also the one who made the mistake. There was no chance to make up for it. After a long time, the car stopped. The two of them were called out of the car by Tanghua. They looked at the beautiful place in front of them and felt a little bitter. Fuping Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1294. No matter how good the place was, it couldn't make them happy. They only felt depressed and uncomfortable. Dad, Mom, I'll get someone to send your luggage over. Actually, all the daily necessities are prepared. You don't have to worry about food, clothing, and accommodation. If you need anything, just call the staff. Where do you want to go? Just register it. The two nodded and didn't object. The place they lived in looked like a suite. There were 2 rooms, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 1 bathroom. It was already very spacious for 2 people. It could be said that it was even better than their original house. There was a market around the nursing home. The environment was good and it was lively. Next door was a scenic spot. It was really a good place. However, their hearts were filled with discomfort. Tanghua saw that it was about time. She said goodbye to them and was about to leave. Xiaogua, do you come over occasionally? Dad, Mom, you are free. You can go wherever you want. Just treat this as your house. It's the same. Did she mean that she wouldn't come over? If you have any questions, you can ask the staff. They are very professional and have all the services you want. Song Jinghua looked at Yuan Shuo and said, This is your boyfriend? Yes, Tanghua said. Yuan Shuo. Song Jinghua quickly praised him. This young man is very energetic. Very good. No matter who he was, as long as her daughter liked him. Seeing that he came to pick them up today, he must like Xiaogua very much. Was she qualified to interfere? Song Jinghua felt a little sad. She was not qualified to interfere. When are you getting married? Tang Light asked. You have to let us know when the time comes. Of course. When we get married, our parents will definitely be there. The two of them were satisfied. They didn't care about other things, but they still wanted to be there when their daughter got married. The two of them looked pitiful and careful. Tanghua was not moved at all. She had said that even if they regretted it, she only had the responsibility of supporting them. There was no kinship. Everyone made mistakes. Those who made mistakes had to accept the consequences. There were some things that had already been done. The damage had already been done, and it was irreversible. Then we'll leave first. The two of them chased after them and watched Yuan Shuo leave with Tanghua. The 2 young people were talking and laughing, which made them feel relieved. Did you just move in? An old couple next door came out smiling. Are you girls or boys? How many are you? Daughter, 1. Tisk, then your daughter must be a capable girl. Staying here for a month would cost at least 10 to 20,000 yuan per person. My wife and I were shocked when we heard the price. My wife wanted to move away, but my 2 sons persuaded her to come back. They said that they were busy with work and had to fly all over the world. There would always be places that they could not take care of. He even said that this place was good and that he could take good care of us. If we don't live here, they won't feel at ease to work. When his wife heard this, she stopped making a fuss. We've been living here for 4 to 5 years, and it's actually more comfortable than home. Everything is prepared, and no one usually comes to disturb us. Your daughter must be very filial to you, right? Your relationship must be very good. You must have doted on your daughter a lot in the past. That's why she's so willing. Look at you living on this floor, and it's a 2-bedroom house. It's already a high-end house here. Fastware, supporting female lead, calm down claw book room 01D, Gu, Su, section No, time is free. Reading 002, time is free. Reading 002, peaked that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.